Alright folks, in this video I'm going to be taking a look at Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus E3 trailer. So I was very excited about this game because I really liked Wolfenstein, the New Order, and I've been a fan of Wolfenstein since the 2009 version, I would say. The one that came out before that I was too young and I didn't really play it much, but it looked like a good game. What I found interesting about Wolfenstein 2 is that the developers, when they presented this game, they didn't just focus on the action right away. They first started with a propaganda movie, like a propaganda video of what it would be like if German occupation actually happened post World War II in America, and how they would use propaganda in this over the top fictitious world to infiltrate the day-to-day living of common people. And that really got me interested because this is something that builds BJ's character, or even immerses the player to a large extent. The reason for that is usually when most World War II games, or even let's just take Wolfenstein 2009 for instance, those kind of games are created, they present the Nazis as an organization, and it's really easy to hate an organization. They stand for bad things, so you hate them. You are a bunch of kick-ass good guys. BJ is a kick-ass guy, and you go around and kill them. But the problem with that is it's been done so many times that the feeling of defiance, like defying authority, the feeling of anger or frustration toward a certain organization gets boring because it's very impersonal. But what they have done with this trailer, they make it personal because they show the occupation in a way that is more one-to-one. And one of the scenes in this video which you're going to see is where a Nazi officer walks in to order a milkshake. It's a very very plain downtoned scene, but it kind of shows a sense of frustration and authoritarianism that goes along with it, and it infuses that into the player and BJ himself. So you kind of relate more to him, that what, I really hate this dude and what he stands for, not that I really hate the Nazis and what they stand for. Yeah, that's the organization, you do hate them, but it makes it more personal. And even though BJ has his own romantic idea of his ideal life where he wants to settle down, which you see in the first game, where he wants to settle down, in a farm outside, he also has an underlying cynicism and sarcasm about the situation he is in. In a way, everything is over the top, but it's grounded at the same time. And the humor comes out of that cynical and sarcastic attitude that BJ has. He presents that in small bursts, like you will see that in this trailer where he goes and he's trying to recruit these members that he's looking for, and he just says, fuck this, I ain't no Nazi and all that. But his tone is very sarcastic and cynical. He's not getting too emotionally attached to that situation because the game understands that this is a fictional universe. At the same time, the emotion in this game is directed towards the authoritarian regime that has taken over the day-to-day lives of Americans. So with this complex circle, they have, I think, doubled down on what Wolfenstein the New Order was and turned it into something more interesting, as far as I can see from the video. And that is something that motivates the player, that wants you to go kick ass, that wants you to save the characters, get to know the characters better, because you are more personally involved. It's not about Call of Duty style or modern Call of Duty style where you're just going to fight these bunch of Nazis and kill them. It makes it more personal, and I think that personal touch is very, very important. And Machine Games, with their pedigree, they come from doing games like I think The Darkness and Riddick, two really good games. They have perfected this skill. So even though the action, the gunplay, the combat is great, what sold Wolfenstein the New Order better than Wolfenstein 2009 was not the gunplay, but it was the build-up. The build-up to that hatred, to that frustration, where you kind of want to be in that world and make a difference. It doesn't just give you an overarching thing that these are two different sides, and you're just one of the guys, one kick-ass guy like somebody like Seer Sam or Duke Nukem, which is what the old games basically were. The original Wolfenstein was not that deep into he goes and he kills Hitler. So Wolfenstein 2009 tried to do that. They just took that same old concept where you're a kick-ass guy and you go to kill the main bad guy, and they added really good mechanics. Raven Software was really good about that, but what they lost was character. You didn't have anyone you hated. That was a problem. And when the New Order came out, when they put that, that this is a situation that's going on, that there are these really cool, interesting characters, not just the good guys, like the Jimi Hendrix alternate knockoff kind of guy. That guy was really cool. And even like the bad guys, how they talk about very like offensive things in a way, like when it comes to racist undertones, like the Aryan race and all that stuff, how they talk about it so casually towards the player. It's a very somber moment. Like you'll see that in the train scene in the New Order. That really touched a nerve, like into BJ and even the player. So when you're killing these dudes, you actually want to kill these dudes. You're not bothered about the overarching thing as much. And I think to some extent BJ cares. BJ is not really somebody who he's a kick-ass dude, but it just seems that he's focused on just kicking ass and saving his friends and taking revenge. He's not on this like global thing, even though he mentions about the Nazis and he doesn't want his kids to grow up in this situation. His attitude is more moment to moment, which is why we don't have to take the game too seriously. You're not thinking about the entire consequence of what would happen if this continues. You're living in the moment. You're living with BJ. When you're shooting a gun, you're living in that moment. You're not that involved in what the overarching thing is. So it gives you a very personal feel. And that's what I really loved about Wolfenstein, the New Order, and that's what I think they're going to do with the new Colossus. They're going to double down on it, and of course the action is great, the combat is solid, and I think this game is going to be Machine Game's finest work. As far as that's what I believe, because they have really perfected their skill. I loved their previous games, Riddick and Darkness. Both games did this very well. They introduced interesting characters, interesting bad guys, that you wanted to know to kill, you wanted to know them to kill them. So anyway, that's my take on Wolfenstein, the new Colossus, and I hope you guys are looking forward to it just as much as I do. If you like the video, go ahead and like it. If you dislike it, go ahead and dislike it. But as always, thank you for watching.